Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be making this cute mini ballerina princess. She is all one piece, and then we will have to embroider a couple little things and then tie the little bow on top of her head. And then I've also made her in the plush version, following along this exact same pattern. For this video I will be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and 10 millimeter safety eyes. And then for the plush version I used a number 6 blanket yarn, a 5.5 millimeter hook, and 14 millimeter safety eyes. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoy this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. Okay, I think that's everything, so grab your yarn and let's get started. All right, we're going to start at the top of the head, so grab whatever color you're using for the hair color, and you can start your rounds any way you prefer as long as you have the same amount of stitches in row 1. I'm going to be doing a knot with a loop on the end, so what I do is I fold my yarn in half. I'm going to pinch it up at the top, wrap that around my finger, down and through to make a knot, and I'm going to pinch that loop, and I'm just going to slide my knot up so that my loop is just a little bit bigger than the hook. Insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up, and chain 1, and that does not count as a stitch. That's just attaching our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 8 single crochets into that loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then pull that tail if you need to close that hole. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one, and for row 2 we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 12. So 1 single crochet for 1, 1 increase for 2 and 3, and repeat that around. 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12. Row 3, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Row 4, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, For our next row, we're going to be going in the front loop. So if you've never done that before, instead of going down and under both of those V's, we're going to come up through the V and just catch these front loops. And that will make our hair kind of a little crease here and start going this way. So the bun and the head have a little bit of definition. So for row 5 in the front loops, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 18. So up through that V, 1 single crochet, 1 increase for 2 and 3, single crochet for 4, increase for 5 and 6, 7, increase 8 and 9, 10, increase 11 and 12, 13, increase 14 and 15, 16, increase 17 and 18. So it should kind of look like this now. Row 6, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and an increase, 3 and 4, and then repeat that around. 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and an increase, 23 and 24. Row 7, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 8, we're going to be going in the front loops again. So remember, you're going to come down, up through the middle of the V's, just catching those front loops. And this row is very important because we're going to need these back loops to continue on with the next row. So for row 8, in the front loops, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and then we're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. We'll tie that off, leave yourself a little bit of a tail so that you can weave that into the inside later on. All right, now we're going to attach your face color, and you can attach your yarn any way you prefer. I'm going to make the knot with the loop on the end. And then we got to get in those back loops. I'm just going to fold down my other row. And if you're ever not sure where your first front loop is or back loop is, so here's my first stitch of my last row right there. Just flip that around, and wherever that went on the other side, that's going to be your front loop, or sorry, your back loop on this side. Now let's attach our yarn, and make sure you are going from the outside to the inside and the same direction that you were crocheting in before, or you're going to end up with it inside out. So we're going to chain one, and then starting in that same stitch that we just attached our yarn, row 9, in the back loop, 24 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 10, we are going to start off with 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we're going to do the ear, and for the ear we're going to do a double crochet cluster of 4. So we're going to yarn over, go into that next stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. So that's 1, yarn over in that same stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. So that's 1, 2, yarn over in that same stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. 1, 2, 3, yarn over in that same stitch, grab your yarn and pull up, grab your yarn and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. You should have 5 loops on your hook, and now you're going to grab your yarn and go through all 5 loops. You might have to give that a pull. You might have to push your ear up and out. And then we're going to do 9 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and now we're going to do our other ear. So a double crochet cluster of 4, That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go through all 5 loops on your hook. Hold it nice and tight, and then we should have 7 single crochets to finish off the row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Row 11, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 12, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then on our 24th one, you're going to go in, pull up, leave those 2 loops on your hook. We're going to change color now. So I'm going to cut my face color. Leave yourself enough of a tail for tying. And you're going to grab your dress color. And you're going to tie that new color to that other color nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. And you're just going to pull that new color through those 2 loops of your last stitch to finish off that row. Row 13, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 14, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then on our 24th stitch we're going to change color again. So grab your yarn, pull up, leaving those 2 loops on your hook. This time don't cut your yarn because we're only going to be doing 1 row of a different color, and then we'll just pick this back up on the next row. So we're going to tie our belt or ribbon color nice and tight, as close to that hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. Then you're going to pick up that new color, pull it through to finish off that last stitch of your previous row. Row 15, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then on 24 we're going to change back to our blue. So we just have our 2 loops on a hook here. We're going to cut the color we were just using, so the darker blue for me. We're going to tie those 2 ends together, so our belt color and our dress color. And then you're going to pull that gold color through those 2 loops you left on your hook to finish off that row. The next row we're going to be going in the front loops again, and we're also going to be doing a double crochet. So we're going to start by slip stitching into the front loop of that next stitch of our next row. We're going to chain 2, and that's just getting up to the height of our double crochet. It's not going to count as a stitch. And then for a double crochet in the same stitch, you're going to yarn over. You're going to go into that stitch, grab your yarn, pull up, grab your yarn, go through the first 2 loops on your hook, grab your yarn again, and go through the last 2 loops on the hook. So for row 16 in the front loops, we're going to do 24 double crochets, and we already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And then you're just going to slip stitch behind that first actual double crochet you made, so not your chain. So you'll be going under this first V that you made in the top of that double crochet, and then just slip stitch. And now to prepare for the next row, I'm going to do 2 single crochets, and all this is going to do is make it so I don't have to reattach my yarn to go down to the other side. So it's just going to go along the back side of these double crochets so I can start in on my next row. And then we'll just find that stitch right there where our first double crochet and chain were. Fold that over, and that will be where your first back loop will start for the rest of the dress. So for row 17 in the back loops, we're going to do 24 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And if you get here and you only have 23, you might have gone in the wrong stitch here. Just do an increase. So you have 24. Nobody will know the difference. Now for row 18, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around, and just make sure you're in the right stitch here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. All right, let's take our hook now. We're going to add our eyes and a little bit of stuffing. So grab those and get them ready. And we're just going to be going in between, in the middle, so down 2 and up 2. And the way we're going to find our spot for our eyes is we're going to take this little spot right where our ear attached. There's a little hole, skip a hole, and put our first eye in. So ear, hole, eye. Just make sure you're down 2 rows. Go to the other side. So here's our ear right here, hole, eye. Then you should have 4 holes in between 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll just get the backs on there. I don't know if I clicked that one all the way. There we go. So the first thing you want to do is put a little bit up into the top of the bun, just so you make sure there's stuffing up in there before you do the rest. And don't worry if it looks funny like this. We're going to take a little piece of yarn and tie that around, and then it'll make our little bun more defined. And then just continue on stuffing. So we want to have it about 2/3 full, just enough so when we do our last 2 rows, we don't have to worry about the stuffing being in our way. But when we get done, we don't want to have to add a lot of extra stuffing either. I'm just going to put a little bit more in because my stuffing seems to really want to bounce out. And then let's put our hook back in. I'm going to fold that skirt down just so it's out of my way. And for row 19, in the back loops, and this is the first time you're going in the back loops with nothing in the front loops, you're just going to go down between the V, and then you're going to go out and catch the back loop. So down between the V and then out to do your single crochet. So for row 19 in the back loops, we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 16. 1 and a decrease for 2, 3, and a decrease for 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, and a decrease for 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, and a decrease for 14, 15, and a decrease for 16. Now if you need to add some stuffing right now, I'm going to wait one more row. We only have 1 row left. And for row 20, we're going to do 8 decreases. So 1 decrease, 2 decrease, 3 decreases, 4 decreases, 5 decreases, 6 decreases, 7 decreases, 8 decreases. Then you're just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, tie that off, leave yourself a bit of a tail in case you want to come up through the center later to make a loop or something for hanging. And we're not going to close this bottom up because I'm going to do all my embroidering up inside there, but I am just going to add a little bit of stuffing before I do any more, just to make sure this bottom corner is kind of popped out. So So I'm just kind of feeling around. If there's a bit of a space there, I'm just going to tuck a little stuffing in. That should be okay. All right, let's start by putting in this little hair end. So you're just going to thread it onto your darning needle, come down the inside, catching a loop or two if you need to. And I'm just bringing it straight out. You can tie it if you want. And then let's cut that off. And then let's just do her little thing across the top. She doesn't really need it, but it kind of helps have that darker color, especially if you're using a light color and a light face color. So in order to get the right amount, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit in the back with room for tying. Then I'm just going to wrap it around 2 or 3 times. I'm going to do 3 and then leave another little bit of a tail for tying. And that should be more than enough. Then we'll thread that end on. And you're going to come to the back center. And we're going to be back stitching. So we're going to start by coming down to the bottom and coming up 1 stitch in front of where we want to start. So I want my next stitch to be here, so I'm going to start here. I'm just between the dress color and the face color. Pull most of your yarn through, leave a little bit for tying. Then you're going to come backwards into the stitch behind where you started. You're going to go underneath, past the string you just put in, and into the next hole. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go backwards around that string and into the next hole. And you're just going to do that all the way around. And while I'm doing this part, I'm just going to remind you guys, if you haven't already, I do have a Facebook craft page. There's a link down in the description below. If you ever want to share anything you've made with me, you can go to that page. You don't have to follow or like or anything. You can just find a post, scroll down, and then go into the comments and leave me a comment or a photo or even a suggestion. Whoop. Put in the wrong one there. Alright, we're getting right close to the end here. And you're just going to have to kind of make up where you want to join this. So I'm going to go right to the last stitch. And then I'm just going to go diagonally from the top to the bottom. So from the bottom of this row up to the top of this row, and then back in, and then out for tying. Whoop. So now that I've used my back center now for this, I'm going to get rid of my stitch marker. We'll tie those ends together. Give them a cut. Now you're going to grab whatever color you used for the face. We're going to make the little hands now. So thread that on. You're going to come up through the bottom and you're going to come in the stitch. So in between these two, the first two rows of blue for the dress, and then kind of centered under the eye. So I'm going to be going in this hole. So up through the bottom, come into that hole, just centered under the eye there. And we're going to be going towards the center of her head, and we're just going to be wrapping around this one stitch right here. And we're going to go around 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and then on our 4th one, we're going to go over to the other side, try and match up the same stitch underneath the eye and in between the first 2 rows of blue. And again, go towards the center, and we're going to wrap around this stitch 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and then on the 4th one, come out the bottom for tying. Cut those ends. Now we're going to do the little mouth, and all I'm going to do is be taking a piece of my black yarn and separating it. So usually there'll be like 4 strands. I've already taken 1 out, so there's only 3 now. So I'm just going to take that 1 strand all the way through and then thread that onto our needle. Now, if you have embroidery thread, that will work a lot better. But in a pinch, you can do it this way. And we're going to be finding our center stitch, and then we're going to come here, down, and over. So starting in the bottom, you're going to come in that 1 hole beside the eye. Leave enough string on the bottom for tying. Decide where your center is, and mine is actually going to be in a stitch because that's my center. I'm going to go there. So right here, I'm going right in that stitch. And then I'm going to come over to the other hole. And then come back down into this bottom hole in the center and out the bottom. And then we'll just tie the ends together. Give them a cut. And then we have to make our little bow on top of the bun. So just, if you have a scrap, use that. Or cut a little piece. So it's a fair size piece, just so you have lots of room for tying your bow. You want to make sure you're where you did that front row, so it'll be 4 rows down. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to tie it right here. I'm going to wrap mine in twice. So I have an equal amount of yarn on both sides. I'm going to line it up on those rows. I'm going to wrap it around. Or maybe let's tie it here. I didn't tie it on my other one, but if you're using these for markets and they're going to be in and out of buckets or whatever, give it a tie. And then you don't actually have to worry how tight this one is. Wrap it back around to the front to make your bow. Just make sure you're in that same line I'm going to tie this twice too, just so it's secure. Pop that down if you need to. And then just tie your little bow. Whoop, wrong side. Oop, again, wrong side. All right, I'm going to be pulling that anyway. All right, and once you have it how you want it, you just cut these ends to a length of your choice. I'm going to be playing with that side forever, so I'm just going to leave it. And then let's close up the bottom. So we're going to thread on our closing tail. Now, if you do not like the look of this mess of ends here, all you need to do is take a little bit of your stuffing and you just kind of cover them up. Just tuck a little piece in there so you can't see them anymore. Whoop, I forgot my needle was on there. And then to close them up, all you're going to do is weave in and out of these top loops all the way around. And if you're doing it in the plush yarn, do a couple of stitches, pull, and then do a couple more till you're at the end, and that will help if that yarn that you're using breaks really easily. Alright, so I'm all the way around. I'm going to give that a nice little pull to close it. Whoop. Then you're going to tie a knot in the next stitch. And thread it up through the center. I'm always going through the top loop just in case you want to use this end for hanging. But if you don't want to, you can always go out the back somewhere. And there we go. Isn't she cute? Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who has been so kind to have hit the thanks button and sent me such generous donations. You will now be listed at the end of all my next videos as my super thanks friends. Take care. Be safe and happy crocheting.